In the early 1800s, one American family claimed they were haunted, not by a silent shadow, not by vague footsteps, but by something that talked back. It scratched their walls, pulled their hair, shouted in their ears, sang hymns at night, and eventually, it said it wanted one thing: the death of the father. The neighbors heard, the preachers heard, strangers traveled for miles just to listen. The disembodied voice that mocked, threatened, and answered questions like a real person. This wasn't just a ghost story. This was a case people wrote down, swore oaths about, and passed on for over 200 years. Welcome back to THS. Tonight, we're going into the woods of Adams, Tennessee, to meet the Bell Witch. Back in the early 1800s, the town of Adams wasn't much more than farmland, church, and dirt roads. The Bell family, John Bell, his wife Lucy, and their children were the definition of ordinary frontier people. They owned a farm, grew crops, raised animals, and tried to mind their own business. John was respected, Lucy was well liked, and their daughter Betsy was known as a sweet pretty girl. Nothing about them screamed future horror story. But like a lot of legends, it starts with something small, something you could almost ignore. At first, the Bells begin to hear faint noises in the house at night, scratching in the walls, like rats, soft knocking, like someone tapping just once, and then it's gone. You can write that off, right? Old wood, animals, the wind. So they did, for a while, until the sounds got louder and closer. They heard chains dragging across the floorboards when no one was there, gnawing on the corners of the bed, heavy footsteps crossing the rooms upstairs, while the entire family sat downstairs too afraid to go up. The moment they realized this wasn't an old house just making noises was when the invisible thing in their home started pulling the sheets off of the children while they slept. Imagine lying in bed, half asleep, when you feel your blanket sliding down, but there's no one at the foot of your bed. You grab it, pull it back up, and something yanks harder. That's what the Bell kids described. Blankets stripped away, pillows yanked from under their heads, hair being pulled by invisible beings. Betsy especially became a target. Whatever this was, it seemed to hate her. It slapped her hard enough to leave red marks. It tugged at her hair until her scalp burned. Sometimes she would suddenly cry out, clutching her face, as if she was hit by something they could not see. But the attacks continued. The noises grew even louder. Knocks became bangs, like fists pounding on the wall. The family started praying louder, reading the Bible loud late at night. And that's when the thing in their house did something that changed this from a haunting to a conversation. It started to talk. At first, it was a low, whispering voice, mumbling words they couldn't quite make out. Then it grew stronger and clearer. It began reciting Bible verses perfectly. It sang hymns the family knew, and some they didn't. It called people by name, and it answered questions. This wasn't just a random noise. It was something with a personality, something that enjoyed being heard. Word spread fast. A family farm where a spirit could actually hold a conversation. That was unheard of. Neighbors came to listen, some skeptical, some terrified. They would ask questions out loud to an empty room and wait. The voice called the witch would respond from nowhere. It claimed to know people's secrets, repeated private conversations that it had overheard from miles away, and scolded people for sins no one should have known about. It joked, it argued, it insulted, quoted scripture, then cursed in the same breath. Most frightening of it all, it fixated on two people: John Bell, the father, Betsy Bell, his young daughter. It tormented Betsy constantly. If she tried to sleep, it shouted in her ear. If she tried to go to school, it followed her, taunting her, mocking her relationships. When she became engaged to a young man, Joshua Gardner, the witch lost it. The voice screamed that it would never allow the marriage. Betsy reported being scratched, slapped whenever she was with Joshua, or even thought about their future. As for John, the witch claimed it had a special mission to kill him. It called him names, accused him of unknown sins, and promised repeatedly that it would end his life. Over time, John Bell's health began to fall. He suffered from strange episodes, weakness, and what some would describe as a kind of facial paralysis twitching. Doctors had no explanation, but the witch did. It laughed at his suffering and told visitors exactly what it intended to do. Now here's where the Bell Witch story stands apart from other haunted stories. It wasn't just one scared family. People from all over came to test it. Skeptical men would arrive, daring the spirit to prove that it was real. They'd ask questions only they knew the answers to. Their mother's maiden name, a secret prayer they had said alone, details about their homes miles away. The voice often answered correctly, sometimes in unnerving detail. If the visitor mocked it, the witch would sometimes shoot them down, repeat private details about their life, or even physically attack them, pinching, slapping, or shouting in their ears till they fled. Preachers visited, 2 men of faith who expected to expose the trick. Some left convinced something supernatural was truly at work. Others suspected something else, a hoax, perhaps involving ventriloquism or hidden collaborators in the house. There were also stories of the witch predicting small events, repeating sermons that had been preached in distant churches, providing details about a stranger's family they hadn't spoke aloud about, claiming it knew where lost objects were, and being right. This is what kept the legend alive. It wasn't just, we heard footsteps. It was, I went there myself. I heard the voice, and it answered me. Whether every one of these stories are true or not, enough people believed them to turn the Bell Witch from a local problem into a full-blown American legend. John Bell's health kept declining. He became weaker, his episodes more frequent. The family was desperate, unable to escape the torment. One day, in 1820, things took a deadly turn. John was found in a distressed state, unresponsive. A strange vial of dark liquid was discovered, containing something no one recognized. When they showed the vial and questioned what it was, the witch's voice reportedly answered, "I gave Jack an old dose of that last night. It fixed him." According to the legend, when a small amount of liquid was given to a cat to test it, the animal died instantly. Horrified, the family threw the vial into the fire. Shortly after John Bell died, the witch celebrated it. It laughed, sang, and loudly proclaimed that it had finally completed its mission to kill John Bell. His funeral, they say, was disrupted by the entity's mocking voice, singing drunken songs and cackling while mourners cried. Many in Adams, that was the final proof that this haunting was not just mischief. It was malevolent and personal. Betsy Bell's life never really escaped the Bell Witch. Her engagement to Joshua Gardner had been violently opposed by the entity from the beginning. Every time she tried to move toward a normal future, the torment intensified. Finally, exhausted and terrified, Betsy broke off the engagement. She gave up on the relationship. She gave up on the relationship the witch hated so much. Not long after that, the activity began to fade. The nightly terrors slowed. The voice was heard less and less. The farm grew quieter. The witch reportedly announced it would leave, but promised to return after a number of years. Some locals claim it did come back, briefly, to one of the Bell's decedents. Others say the spirit never fully left, but his presence still lingers in the area, especially near the old Bell property and nearby cave associated with the legend. Today, the Bell Witch is one of America's oldest, most famous urban legends. Books, movies, and documentaries keep retelling the story. People still visit Adams, hoping to hear even a whisper of the voice that once terrified an entire community. So what was it? There are a few main theories that people argue about. Believers say this was a genuine haunting, a demon, a restless spirit, or a witch's curse. They point to the detailed testimonies, the supposed predictions, and the physical attacks. As proof, something beyond human trickery was at work. Psychological and social explanations. Skeptics suggest mass hysteria, religious fear, and suggestion. In a small, intense, very religious community, one family's small, strange experience could fester and grow as more people joined in and interpreted an ordinary event as supernatural. Some researchers think a living person, possibly even someone inside the Bell family, could have created the voice. Talented ventriloquists can throw their voice in ways that seem supernatural. If someone had a reason to torment John Bell or sabotage Betsy's engagement, a haunting could be a powerful weapon. And then there's the easiest possibility, that the legend is tangled in a blend of truths, lies, misunderstanding, and embellishments. Maybe there was something odd in that house, and over time the story grew teeth and claws with every telling. The frustrating part? We'll probably never know for sure. The documents we have come from decades after the event, mixing testimonies and storytelling. The line between history and horror fiction is blurry at best. What we do know is this: for over 2 centuries, people have kept the Bell Witch alive. Parents still warn their kids about going too deep into the woods. Paranormal investigators still visit the area. Trail cameras and recorders, hoping to catch a whisper. A haunting that talks back. A spirit that takes credit for a man's death. An invisible spirit that knows your secrets and refused to let one family live in peace. If you ever find yourself driving through rural Tennessee and you pass by a lonely field and a patch of woods, you might be closer to the Bell Witch than you think. And if a voice starts answering questions you never said out loud, remember this story and ask yourself, is something really there? Or have you just finally listened long enough to hear what's been waiting in the dark? If you enjoyed this deep dive into real American urban legends, hit the like, subscribe, and smash the notification bell. And let me know in the comments which haunting you want me to go into next. Until then, try not to listen too closely next time you hear cracks and creaks in your house.